So lately there's been a theme in crypto YouTube about how to allocate $1,000 in crypto. Yes, $1,000 portfolio. So in today's video, I want to explain my personal thesis, show you a model on how you could possibly turn $1,000 into $100,000. I know it sounds crazy, $100,000. So if you like these type of videos, make sure that you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and keep your favorite crypto and door-to-door entrepreneur inside the algorithms. And let me know in the comments what coins you would pick if you were using this strategy. Enough talk. Let's talk about how you can turn $1,000 to $100,000 in cryptocurrency. So it's Motivated Monday, and you can personally see that the level of strength in the market cannot be denied. This is after we got multiple amounts of FUD. I talked about in my latest video, but I also talked about how the market has been showing resilience and resolve. Now, there's been a lot of videos coming out explaining the post-halving to price peak cycle top and comparing multiple cycles. Now, if you go watch my older videos, I have been talking about this. I've been put out the playbook of each cycle for Bitcoin, and then even gave you guys the model for the potential cycle, right? The issue here is that we haven't been in QE and we haven't had the end of QT. So this is why a lot of people believe that this altcoin season that we're supposed to have could be delayed until we get some sort of hint that we are going to finally enter the last leg of QT, which means if we can get the end of QT with multiple rate cuts, there is a good chance that with the liquidity rising, the global liquidity rising, that those could be the multiple catalysts that lead us into an altcoin rally and even an altcoin season. So again, I've made multiple videos. My model itself has Bitcoin peaking out somewhere in between I'm gonna just say Q4 and Q1 of 2026. If we go here to the total 3, you can see I even did the same thing for the total 3, the first cycle from post halving to the peak of the altcoin market, the greater altcoin market, by the way, the total 3. Now, this is not the others, but you can get a lot of information from the total 3. Was 546 days. I actually did this manually because you couldn't actually see the halving here in the chart, but it was in 2016. And 546 days, we seen the peak of the altcoin season. In the last cycle, it was about 532 days from post halving to the peak of the altcoin cycle. Now, if you add those two up and you just do a little bit of simple math, divide it by 2, right? Add them up and divide it by 2, you get about 544 days. For the sake of the video, that was 77 bars, which is 539, which says that the altcoin market can peak somewhere between October 2025 and Q1 of 2026. Again, the reason that I'm pushing it out is because we are in QT and we need a few things to happen outside of us being in QT, right? We need Ethereum to have an altcoin high, and we need the Bitcoin dominance to hit somewhere around 55%. If you get these coupled with the final boss, which is the Fed, there is a good chance that we do see altcoin season. And according to our charts, we're already 469 days in, right? So that's roughly about 60, 70 days until the peak based on the total 3. I think with the Bitcoin chart, it's the same, around 60, 70 days. So we're well into this cycle, contrary to many people's beliefs that may just be getting into crypto. Now, this is the most important part of the video because I'm telling you that when you see these videos where people say, how to invest $1,000, it's important to note that we could possibly be in the last leg of the cycle. So you want to make this count. So that's why I created a thesis that makes sense just in case this is the last leg, right? If it goes higher, we still win because we're in crypto. We got skin in the game. But at the end of the day, we want to be realistic in this market so that we practice good risk management. The best way to make it in crypto is perseverance of capital, because without capital, you can't buy no damn crypto. All right. So just keep that in mind. It is important to note that we did get a couple sell signals on the total 3 and here on the Bitcoin chart in the midst of the market still showing tons of strength. So we're printing 2 sell signals, right? And this is just based off TA, but the market is still showing strength, because so this could be a false signals. False signals happen all the time. Now let's go get into the actual thesis, right? Because inflation has been decreasing and the job market numbers came out absolutely horrible, which is putting the Fed in a position that if they looked at data, they may want to cut the rate. So let's say we do have an altcoin season. Millie, how would you allocate $1,000 to get a 100x in crypto to $100,000? Now, I broke it down in the most simplest fashion, right? The $1,000 to $100,000 strategy. Of course, this is a high risk strategy. I want to make that clear. High risk. You're not going to get there buying blue chips. This is a real video. I'm being completely honest. So understand, it's going to take risk to turn $1,000 into 100,000 in cryptocurrency. Outside of that, if you buying blue chips, it's highly unlikely unless we get some type of crazy capital that runs to crypto. But I don't know if that happens this cycle. Now, it's important to note that you will be putting 70%, not financial advice, but let's say hypothetically speaking, this was my crypto portfolio. I would be putting 70% towards microcaps, 70% towards tokens between $1 million and $50 million. I will be putting 25% between small caps. That means $50 million to $500 million market caps, and only 5% to the higher large caps, 500 million to 2 billion, which our model still considers mid caps, right? So these are not anything like Bitcoin, Ethereum. Those are like blue chips, large caps, right? These are still mid caps, right? But you're only putting 5% to the mid caps. Remember, 70% towards the micro caps. This is what I would personally be doing. Now, sector allocation is very simple, because a lot of people want to know, well, how many tokens do I need? I'm going to break it down for you, okay? 10 tokens. Now, my thesis is that AI is going to be the biggest narrative, right? But understand that this profile is extremely risky and based off speculation. Our timeline is 6 to 18 months, right? This needs to be an altcoin season. So we're going to give a timeline of 16, 18 months. 10 total positions, max 15% per position. And stage selling. No one talks about exit strategies, but I'm also going to talk about that as well. So AI, right? I would allocate 4 positions to AI, right? A total of $400 out of the 1,000, right? Anywhere between 20 million and $150 million market cap tokens, right? Now, I would say even lower if you can find good AI tokens, but just because I believe that the AI narrative is going to be so good, you could probably get away with 20 million to $150 million market caps, right? So again, if we just go back to our sector allocation, that's 4 positions, right? $400. Meme coins, right? Meme coins, you're looking at 3 positions, right? $120, 180, right? 12%, 10%, and 8%, right? You want to look for trending narratives, strong communities, and viral potential. And with AI, you want to look at data processing, compute networks, and specialized AI utilities. And again, I'm not going to name the tokens. Maybe I'll do a video where I do name the tokens, but I'm not going to name the tokens. Again, you should be able to do your research and find your own tokens. But if you guys want me to name the tokens, maybe I'll do a video in the future if this video does very well. So make sure you like and engage. 2 positions into L1, L2, maybe an RWA project. So maybe you pick an L1 and an RWA, or maybe you get 2 RWAs, or maybe you get 2 L1s, right? Focus on novel consensus, emerging ecosystems, and developer activity. Again, position one would be $120, which is 12%. Position two would be $80, which is 8%. And then last but not least, one position, $100 into one gaming token. Now, the reason that I added gaming, because no one's looking at gaming, but if we have an altcoin season, gaming tokens are going to go ballistic. So at least having just one gaming token, one really good gaming token, $100, $100, because you only got 1,000. We putting 400 into AI tokens, 300 into meme coins, 200 into L1, L2, or maybe RWA. You can swap this out with RWA or even DPIN, however you like it. And then one good gaming token, low cap, right? $100, which is 10%. Focus should be working product, strong tokenomics, and growing user base. So actually just pick a good game that you can see people playing. After doing research on gaming, you can probably see the good games in crypto. I could name a few, but again, I'm not going to name any tokens for this specific portfolio. I'm just giving you an example on how I would personally build this if I only had 100,000. If I only had $1,000. So AI tokens, 4 positions. That's $400, right? Meme coins, 3 positions. That's $300. That's 700. L1, L2, or an RWA play, $200, right? 2 positions, right? 120 and $80. And then last but not least, $100 into one gaming tokens. That would wrap up our $1,000 portfolio, right? Now, you got 10 positions, right? Your largest positions are 12%, your smallest position is 8%, and you're diversified across multiple narratives, the best narratives, the narratives that are going to, have been showing strength in crypto, should I say. Now, this is the exit strategy, right? This is the most important part of the video if you are listening, your exit strategy, right? Because you want to have an exit strategy. If you get into this type of stuff, you want to have an exit strategy, right? You got to be able to know when you want to enter, but you also got to be able to know when you want to exit. So how I look at it, right, is you take 25% out when you get a 5x, right? That's your initials, right? So your initials, you take 25% out of your portfolio. That's your initial investment, right? When you make it to a 15x, right, you take another 25% out, right? At this point, you're taking profits. When you make it to a 40x, you take another 25% out, right? You take your profits, right? And then if the bag, right, which we consider that the moon bag, because you only got 25% left. If the moon bag 100x, you completely exit your position, right? If you completely exit your position. And remember, this timeline is over 6 to 18 months, and it requires an altcoin season. If we don't have altcoin season, then this video don't even matter. It's invalidated, right? But if we have an altcoin season, this is how I would personally allocate $1,000. And it's important to note, right? 50% stop losses, which means like if you see a token drop 50%, you might want to reallocate to something else. Never add to your losers. This is if this is the last leg, DCAing. What are you DCAing for, right? You should, it's over with, right? And rotate profits to new opportunities, right? So again, if you get those whatever you do with those profits, people, I said this in the live stream, I'm like you can literally rotate that into something that hasn't pumped, but you only rotate 1 to 5% of your profits. You don't make 50x and rotate the whole 50x into another coin, right? You only rotate 1 to 5% of that. So hopefully this made sense for everybody. Again, the most important thing here I think people need to pay attention to is the type of tokens you have to buy to turn $1,000 into $100,000. Now, again, this is not like an easy feature, okay? This ain't easy. This is not something that just randomly happens for people. It takes patience. It takes diamond hands. It takes being able to, you know what I'm saying, do your research and execute, you know, from picking the right projects. Like, it's not just, oh, I'm gonna just pick some random shit that's $1 million market cap and hope it turns to 100,000. Now it's you really gotta like be elite with this, but then have an understanding that if it don't happen, it don't happen, right? Again, I'm not gonna say that this has to happen or this will happen, but this is how I view turning $1,000 into 100,000. If you only got 1,000, you gotta take on risk, man. That you gotta take on risk. So it's going to be 70% towards 1 million to $50 million micro caps. You got to take some risk, 25%. So the 25% and the 5%, you should already know those coins. Where it's going to get hard at is picking the right coins and the micro caps. And that's where most people are going to get it wrong, because it's not, this is not going to be the easy feature. This is going to be like the lotto ticket, the gamble. Hope that you pick the right ones, right? And no one knows the right ones. That's why I'm being completely transparent and honest with you guys. This can happen, but you got to get the micro caps right. You got to get the micro caps right. So let the word to the wise be efficient for everybody. Hopefully people kind of understood this video. If you're new, feel free to comment what tokens you would actually buy. I would love to know in the comments. Y'all always dropping some sleepers in the comments, so let me know. But anyway, also let me know like what market caps you do, or how would you tweak this a little bit to make it work for you. I'd love to know everybody's opinions. It's your boy Crypto Millie. I'll see you in the next one.